Hi everyone, welcome to Power Tracks, where for the first time in the history of TNT Motorsports, we're at the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds. And Army Armstrong, all the points leaders are here, including Scott Stevens and King Crunch, who less than a week ago did a complete 360-degree flip, only to come back, race, and win.
Well, that shows you how tough this competition is. When he went on his head, I thought there's no way we're going to see him for about a month. Less than 45 minutes later, he was back in competition. But speaking of competition, USA won. What can you say about this guy? He started to work his way back up, and this is his kind of track. The Milwaukee Mile is famous in motorsports, and these fine people in Milwaukee are going to see different racing on this. The drivers are walking around with big grins on their face. It's a 600-foot-long track, a lot of room to really get some ground speed. And, Richard, I'm going to predict we're going to see speeds in excess of 75 to 80 mile an hour over that last jump. I think we're going to see somebody clear that last 12 cars.
So 600-foot-long track, 3 jumps to go over. Wild action straight ahead on Power Track.
Power Tracks and the Renegades team.
Richard Leak along with Army Armstrong, and normally on this Monster Mile of Milwaukee, it's the likes of Danny Sullivan, Rick Mears, and Emerson Fittipaldi, Indy cars, and ASA racers. But today, it's monster trucks, even wounded monster trucks.
Well, Richard, you see one of the wounded monster trucks going to the line right now, that being King Crunch out of Woodland, Texas. And believe me, these people from Milwaukee that are used to seeing the best in motorsports, they bought a ticket to a TNT monster truck race. They're going to see the best in this sport, too.
And here's the way they're going to pair off in the first round. Rod Litzow, USA 1 against Bennett Clark and Clydesdale. It's going to be no problem. Jammin' John Moore against Mr. Twister. And it's got a new driver behind the wheel today. More about that in a minute. Madman Mike Wine, Jersey Outlaw, the Ford against Carolina Crusher. Gary Porter, the Chevrolet. Tough Enough with Pablo Cruz will be facing Jesse Berge. And the Playing for Keeps Chevrolet, Mad Dog with one of the Breen boys in it, taking on Super Dave WIECZOREK and the Nightlife. Equalizer, Dangerous David Morris, taking on Johnny K, John KWASNIEWSKI, and Buffalo Trimmer. And then Scott Stevens, the guy you just saw make his qualifying run, King Crunch, taking on the other half of the Breen Boys Racing Toys operation and the Wild Hair. And good crowd on hand, Army, as we take a look back at what happened last week to King Crunch in Kalamazoo.
Well, on the race at Kalamazoo, he came off the final jump and the rear tires actually hit the final car they were trying to jump. It sprung it back over. He 360'd immediately. They've got to go to work, and this is what's been going on ever since the Kalamazoo accident.
Well, they rolled into Milwaukee a couple of days ago, and it has been non-stop work for the King Crunch Monster Truck Racing team ever since they got here. And there was a little bit of a drama this afternoon. A lot of people weren't sure they would have it ready to run tonight.
Well, Kevin Ford, who is the crew chief on this vehicle, along with Scott Stevens, the owner, they've both driven the monster trucks. They know what it takes to be competitive. And Scott Stevens says this is the future of monster truck racing. Throwaway bodies, just like the sprint car boys. You bend it, you put a new piece on it, and you go racing. That's exactly where we are right now. And that just might be the future of this sport.
And you know, normally you see pieces come flying off NASCAR race cars and races, but these monsters of late have been going really bumper to bumper like in NASCAR racing.
Well, the competition, I can't stress the fact that this is a true competitive American motorsport. You don't get any tougher than this anywhere in America in any kind of motorsport.
Well, let's get ready for our first race. Rowdy Rod Litzow, USA 1 against Bad News, Bennett Clark. It's Clydesdale, Georgia, taking on Minnesota. Remember, Rowdy is our defending national champion.
Rod Litzow on a track that he loves. You watch, he's going to have 3 jumps. He rolled over the first one, the second one. Now he says, right now is when I'm pulling the trigger. Clears them. Richard, I knew somebody would do it. Went over 12 cars. Didn't touch. Watch the back wheels. The 12th car, he cleared him by 10 feet.
Rowdy Rod Litzow literally flies to a first-round victory.
That run was just awesome. That's all I can say.
Yeah, well, on this kind of track, I know when I run on asphalt, all I have to do is if I keep the hammer down, she'll straighten itself out. It may look a little squirrely out there, but it feels good. The truck is running good. It'll hook up real nice. I may come off a little sideways, but with this car, I can get myself grooved right back in real fast. And I don't worry. I can just, if I just hit the first cars, I'm not worried about where I'm landing. I'm going high enough speed the truck will pull itself out.
An awesome display of power from USA 1 is next to the line. John Moore, the veteran, no-problem driver, the Ford out of Lafayette, Tennessee. And he is taking on a relatively newcomer in monster truck racing, Dan STASZAK, driving Mr. Twister, another Ford, this one out of Wisconsin.
You might keep an eye on the Twister truck, and I tell you why. What you're going to see are two types of trucks. A racing truck, being no problem. John Moore runs a circuit with it, and basically a show truck or a promoter's truck that comes in and jumps vehicles. Look at the handling characteristics, all the difference in the world. And a lot of people don't realize that these guys build racing trucks. It is a built chassis. They're serious about it. John Moore, he's showing his flex, walks right to the next round.
So you might say to Dan STASZAK, Army, if you want to play with the big boys, you got to get the big fast toy. So John Moore moves to the quarterfinals. Next to the line is Mike Wine. Mike, the Jersey Outlaw driver. He comes to us from Pensacola, New Jersey. That is a 1988 Ford Super Duty truck, and he's taking on the Chevrolet. Gary Porter, Carolina Crusher, currently number 2 in the overall national point standings.
This event is very important for Porter. He's got to stay in competition for the national points chase. Now, the long track is to his liking. Keep an eye on the Ford on the inside. I don't believe he's going to pose a problem. The Chevrolet should go to the next round, but neither truck really getting the speed that they were looking for on that run, Richard. I believe this asphalt track and these walls are a little bit intimidating.
So a nice win there for Carolina Crusher. Gary Porter goes to the quarterfinals.
Well, I really needed a race, and all messed up in qualifying, and the suspension's getting tired on my truck. We've been out on the road a while, and I need to get home to work on it, and I think it's causing me a lot of problems right now.
Said you messed up in qualifying. First half of the run looked good, but the second jump, it didn't seem like it was there for you.
It did. The truck sort of landed good, and then all of a sudden it just took a weird turn to the left, the rear end, like it caught on the asphalt, and just made me go over to the left side.
We'll see you in that next round. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
So thus far tonight, it has already been wild and woolly. Back to the Monster Mile of Milwaukee in just a moment with more action on ESPN. And we are back in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for this Monster Truck Challenge event midway through the opening round of racing. I'm Richard Leake along with Army Armstrong, and this is Jesse Berge. We call him the Gentle Giant or the Mountain Man. He's from Wyoming, Michigan. It's the Playing for Keeps Chevrolet, and he's taking on a rookie on the circuit, but he's a fast rookie. That is Pablo CRUSE, toughing up all the way from Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, CRUSE in the red truck out of Arizona. This will be about the 7th run on the truck. It's a new truck combination. I've been awfully impressed with him. He's run some points races with us. He can make some horsepower, Richard. Meanwhile, Jesse Berge trying to pull the Auto Value Auto Parts Chevrolet up into this thing. Half track, they almost bumped. What does it look like, Richard?
It is going to be a win by the rookie, Pablo CRUSE. Toughing up has knocked off Jesse Berge and Playing for Keeps.
On that run, it looks like you two guys got awfully close out there. Does that affect your driving style? What goes through your mind there?
Well, it died. It fell on its face, so I tried to work the gas pedal so it'd come back to life, and it did at the last minute there, and I passed him up. But he did have me for a little bit there.
So Pablo CRUSE is going to the quarterfinals. Who's going to join him? Well, maybe John BREEN. He's the veteran driver of the Mad Dog Chevrolet. John out of Barnett, Missouri. He's been in the monster truck over 7 years, and he's taking on the super one, Dave WIECZOREK. Nightlife always runs with his head hanging out the window. The Nightlife Chevrolet's out of Grand Island, Nebraska. He's been racing for about 4 years now.
Both trucks rely on a supercharged Chevrolet engine combination. Both these drivers are awfully important to the sport. The reason being, they're always strong runners. They're consistent runners. Both trucks have taken a win on the national circuit this year, but every week they really go at each other head to tail. Look at this. An example right there. Ed's going to go to Nebraska, but Missouri pushed him out that back door.
At the finish line, Super Dave WIECZOREK bumps off John BREEN and the Mad Dog. So now WIECZOREK goes to the quarterfinals against the winner of our next race.
Satisfied with the run?
I liked it. Could have been a lot smoother, though.
What about the track out here, the walls on each side of the track? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I'm very aware of that. That's what makes it kind of scary when you come off. You got to stay into the throttle to keep your truck straight so you don't go into the walls.
Now it's our final first round of action. Dangerous David Morris, the equalizer, had a violent flip in Richmond, Virginia earlier this year. He's in the Chevrolet out of Springfield, Tennessee. He is a kid that is known as being calm, cool, and collected. and John KWASNIEWSKI. Johnny K is what you call him. He's the Buffalo trimmer driver out of Lackawanna, New York. Keep your eye on this kid because he is very intense, and he's been coming on strong as of late.
You know, talking about personalities, Morris, like you say, easy going, laid back. Johnny K, he's like a rock and roller, man. He wants to come after you in a heartbeat. Leads the starting line, trying to keep up with the equalizer. Not going to do it. Look at it now. Johnny K trying to come back. Richard, it looks close. He's in trouble. I can't tell from my viewpoint.
John KWASNIEWSKI had a great run going in the Buffalo trimmer until midway down the track. He got a little bit out of shape. That is all David Morris needed to get the win in the equalizer.
This track, I think, is really a course that you can't use every bit of your power at one time on it. I think it's more of a driving course than it is a speed course. I don't know how long the trucks will hold up out here on this track running fast speeds. It's a pretty tough track.
It is a tough track.
Yes, it's pretty tough.
As we move along, if the Dave Clark 5 was here, they would be singing I'm in pieces, bits and pieces, because here comes Scott Stevens, King Crunch. Last week, he rolled that truck over in Kalamazoo. You can see the results there. And he is taking on Bob Breen, bad to the bone Breen, the wild hair from Barnett, Missouri. And Army in horsepower, they're about equal, but...
Well, the big difference here is going to be the minds in the helmet of the driver. Scott Stevens knows he can really leg that King Crunch truck, flip and do whatever he wants, and he's going to be okay. Bob Breen on the other side, he doesn't have that confidence in his truck, and it's showing right now. As this kid out of Texas works the right lane to perfection, Richard, he's looking awfully good on this long track. Now, you notice the final jump, not a lot of air. He just basically drove over. I think this track is intimidating these drivers, Richard Leake.
Plus, you might want to rename King Crunch Squirrely Shirley because he was fighting that truck all the way down the track. As we are moving on now to our question of the week, and this week our question has to deal with the engines and the RPMs. And this question of the week comes from Todd Akers of Pikeville, Kentucky. And Todd writes, he wants to know how much RPMs the monster trucks turn and what determine it. We have with us John Breen. John is the owner and driver of the Mad Dog Chevrolet. And John, what's the answer?
Well, most of them turn between about 5,000 and 8,000, some of them to 8,500.
Now, by RPMs, we mean revolutions per minute, and what exactly is turning?
Well, revolution per minute is how many revolutions engines turn over in a minute.
Now, how would you compare this with the average automobile?
Well, the average automobile turn up to about 6,000. That'd be pushing one pretty good.
Well, obviously, that's generating a lot of heat on these monster motors. How do you cool them off?
Well, the guys that run racing fuel, they have to run a big radiator, a good fan, and a good shroud to cool them off. And the guys like me, we run methanol, which is a real cold fuel, and that helps a lot.
John, thanks for the answer. Good luck to you. And if you have a question of the week about the Renegade's TNT Monster Truck Challenge, send it to us at TNT Motorsports, 5515 Poplar Park Boulevard, Louisville, Kentucky, 40228. And if we use one of your questions on a future TV broadcast, we'll send you free a TNT Motorsports ad. And when we return from this commercial break, we've got our quarterfinals, USA 1 against No Problem, Carolina Crusher, King Crunch, Mad Dog against Tough E-NUFF, and Nightlife facing Equalizer. All the action straight ahead on ESPN. Mile, Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the State Fairgrounds. It is quarterfinal action straight ahead with Richard Leake and Army Armstrong. And our first race, Army, is the great matchup everyone likes to see. The Ford going up against the Chevrolet. It's Rowdy Rod Litzow, damaged and all, not him, but his truck. And USA 1 taking on Jammin' John Moore, the Ford driver out of Tennessee, and No Problem.
John Moore has developed a new driving technique in Milwaukee. I don't know why, but for some reason, John Moore believes he can go after anybody out here. He'll lead with you. Now, look at this, a perfect example. Side by side, USA 1, the Ford's actually out front. First jump, Chevrolet pulls it. Ford trying to pull him back in. Chevrolet final jump. But John Moore was right there, Richard Leake. He's found something for the Ford horsepower people.
I'll tell you what I think it is. John has gotten a lot more aggressive as the season starts to wind down, but aggressiveness and all, he gets beaten by Rowdy Rod Litzow in USA 1.
Rod, this next round is going to prove interesting. It's either going to be Gary Porter or Scott Stevens, and both of them want you awfully bad.
Yeah, I know, but, you know, I'm looking at the times. I go back to the pits. I check the times all the time. I'm running at least a second faster than both of the trucks right now, so I know that they've been pushing it. this will tell me this next round, them two pushing it hard, where they're going to be sitting with me, how hard I got to push the truck, because I haven't pushed my truck hard enough yet.
You're confident on this win tonight, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, I know. I like this track. I know I can do that run right there. I backed off a little on the first ramp because it's throwing me high. It got me a little squirrely, but if I push the truck real hard and strong, she'll go a lot faster. I'll get in the 10s.
Well, I'll tell you something, listening to Flipper talk there and watching all the other trucks, I don't see a truck out here that can really run with him tonight. He is so fast.
He has so much confidence in the truck. He told me earlier, he said, you know, the worse my truck looks is when it looks like it's really out of shape. That's when it's really handling good. And we're standing down here at the end of the track, Richard. He's got to be tickled to death with that truck because it's scaring me to death in the end. He really looks like he's got a handful.
And the winner of this race faces Rod Litzow in the semifinals as Carolina Crusher, going for a national championship this year. Carolina Crusher against the wounded Scott Stevens and King Crunch.
Yeah, Gary Porter's doing exactly what he had to do. Yeah, he made the final 12. I don't know about seconds, but in distance, he can run right with USA 1. Porter not going to roll over a bit. Stevens on the trailer, the finalist set up.
Gary Porter is going to move to the semifinals against that guy, Rod Litzow.
Gary, to be real honest about it, this is a must-win situation for you, and Rod Litzow said there's no way you can touch him on this track.
It is. I have to win. This is his type of track, and I'm going to have to push my truck to the limit, and I'm sure he'll be pushing his to the limit. No, I've been watching the track, you know, learning each lane and everything, and I think he'll be taking the right lane, and I've seen him make a pretty good run that time in the left lane.
So after 3.5 years behind the wheel of that Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter is really in contention for his first ever national championship. What does he have to do to win it? Army asked him that question earlier this afternoon.
Well, I'm going to have to maybe go with more horsepower and try to work on my suspension and everything and get the truck to working better. It seemed like the first of the year I could do nothing wrong. Everything I done worked perfect for me, and now it seems as though everything I do was wrong.
Are you, in your mind, still competitive for this national championship? You're currently number 3 in a national points chase. Can you possibly win this thing with 12 events to go?
I think I can. I'm going home and do a lot of changing on the truck and come back, and I'm going for it.
You know, Richard, it's kind of interesting. During that interview, you could actually feel his belief, the fact that he can win a national championship, and I wish this young man well. He's worked awfully hard to be where he is in this sport.
Well, here's a guy that someday hopes to be in that race for the national championship. It's Pablo CRUSE. He's a rookie driver, toughing up the Ford out of Phoenix, Arizona, facing the veteran, John BREEN and Mad Dog, and as usual, at the starting line, both a little slow.
Both drivers lead the starting line. Now, CRUSE, even though he's a rookie in this sport, been around motorsports a long time, the Phoenix native, having problems, as is the driver from Missouri. Richard, I don't know. Both trucks in a barrel of trouble at half track. I have no idea which one's going to advance after that.
And I'll tell you, sitting up in the press box looking down, I could not tell. Here's the word from the official. John BREEN and the Mad Dog, for the first time in a long time, has now made it all the way to the semifinals as we go trackside.
John BREEN, you just put the Phoenix Ford away by 300ths of a second, but we noticed you got banged around real bad up in that truck.
Yeah, I did. I started out, I went over the first hump a little hard, then I shot over the second one, then I got really crooked. I thought I was going to hit the wall, and I seen that he was having a little trouble, so I just laid right into it, you know, and when it come down, he hit sideways and hit my head on the roll cage like knocked me out. It's a pretty rough run. It's a long course, it's fast, and there's no margin for error whatsoever.
And now it's the super one against the dangerous one. We're talking about Super Dave WIECZOREK Nightlife, the guy that races with his head hanging out the window against dangerous David Morrison, the equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee. An important race for David because he's currently number 1 in the point standings.
He can definitely help his point chase, but what I'm watching is a 3-obstacle course. Now, he clears the first obstacle, no problem. If he can get off the second, which he just did straight, he's in good shape. The middle jump, or the first set of cars, is where they're all having problems, but everybody is backpedaling at the finish line, Richard. They don't want to get that much ground speed, it looks like to me.
And I'm surprised how easily David Morrison, the equalizer, just knocked off the Nightlife to move to the semifinals.
Right now, we got a pressure-packed situation. This is the status. The top 3 trucks in the national championship are still in the running. There's only 4 trucks left. Mad Dog, John BREEN says he can be the spoiler here, but that puts the pressure on the rest of you guys because you lose, it's going to hurt no matter what happens.
Yeah, any top trucks right now that lose, it's going to really put the hurt on them because we're all so close together, and it's going to be tough racing out here.
So 3 of the top 4 trucks in America have made it to the semifinals. That action is straight ahead on ESPN.
Power Tracks And the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge is brought to you by TNT Motorsports.
Semifinals are about to begin. Richard Leake along with Army Armstrong, and in this first semifinal matchup, Army is going to be a dandy. USA 1 and Rowdy Rod Litzow against Gary Porter, Carolina Crusher. Rowdy, the defending national champion. Gary, currently number 2 in the point standings. And in your interview with Gary, he seemed a little intimidated by Rod Litzow.
Yeah, he seemed to be a little bit intimidated, but you got to throw that out the window right now. He's got one thing to do. That's to beat the True Value Chevrolet. Can he do it? I don't know. Look at that. Both trucks lead side by side. Richard will look good. Good, clean start. They both hit the first jump. You take it from here.
It is going to be a super race to the finish, but it's all Litzow. He cleared every one of those junk cars again. Rowdy Rod Litzow with an unbelievable finish at the line to gain a spot in the final.
They hit the second jump side by side, but Katie bar the door. Look at that. They're actually flying that True Value Chevrolet, Richard.
Carolina Crusher almost went on his side at the finish line. Now let's find out who Litzow is going to face in the championship. There's the intensity of John Breen and the Mad Dog, and there's the calmness of the dangerous David Morris Equalizer machine. The winner now, remember, goes to the finals.
John Breen is very important to this sport right now. The reason being, how hard is he going to push the Equalizer? Breen knows that he can be a player for the national championship. 3 of the top 4 trucks in the country made the Final 4. Breen can be the spoiler. He's going to try to make the Equalizer work awfully hard if he's going to win, and he's not giving him anything. Look at this, Richard Leake. He's pushing him to the limit.
And it's going to be the Equalizer, David Morris, getting the win.
Weird sound on that run, Richard.
What do you mean by weird sound?
We'll check with the driver. Yeah, hang on.
All right, so possible mechanical problems again for the Equalizer. We'll have to find out. On the replay, it was pretty even until midway down the track.
Watch the driver. He'll go out, hit the throttle, and back on it. He's actually decelerating when everybody else is accelerating.
So that sets up our championship, and it's what everyone wanted. The defending national titleist, Rod Litzow, USA 1, damaged it all, taking on the current #1 truck in America, the Equalizer of David Morris. Might want to mention at this time that Gary Cook, a former truck and tractor puller, is the owner and builder of this Equalizer machine, and he is getting rave reviews on his design.
He's also getting a lot of people building trucks just like his. One of the very important parts of this truck that we're going to do a feature on in the future is the seat. I believe that the driver's seat is a very important part of the truck. We'll explain it at a later time. Right now, business at hand. Who's going to win on the world-famous Milwaukee Mile? They lead side by side. Morris has to come out first. He does what he has to do, but look at the awesome USA 1, Richard.
Remember I said earlier in the show it didn't look like anybody could touch Rowdy Rod Litzow on USA 1 tonight. That is exactly what has happened, as Rod has now gotten his 3rd victory in a row, this time the win over the Equalizer and David Morris.
Rod Litzow, with this get word, you take the win with the 10:79, the quickest time of the night, and you're marching back for that national championship.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. You know, I told you earlier that I had to figure out that first hill, and once I figured that out, that's where I was losing a little bit of time because the truck was going, and I pushed it to the max on the end. I guess my crew chief, Steve, just told me that we just used the motor to the max in that last run, and that's where I save it for.
So with the season almost 3/4 over, Rod Litzow, with his 3rd win in a row, remains in 3rd place in the overall standings, but he is hard charging, and there is enough time for him to win his 2nd consecutive national title. We'll find out. For Army